Now we have a question that we are going to be working with from Ernie. Ernie, thank you so much for your question on maps and scales. It's a picture of a house that we have, and in this particular house, we are asked to basically look for the dimensions of this house. Anytime you are asked to look for the dimension of anything, a dimension is just a fancy word for side. Don't panic. Anytime you ask for a dimension, do not panic. A dimension is just a side. So basically, if they say the dimensions of the square, they're just asking for the size of the square. Do not panic. Let's look at this house that we have been given over here. We are asked for the wall length, the wall height, the roof height, the window length, the window height. So we are asked to measure on the plan, and then we are also asked to have the actual. I said to you in scales and maps, or in maps and scales, it's always the measurement versus the real life. So what are we doing here? We are just moving this house that we've been given from whatever we've been given on the paper all the way onto real life. Let's go and look at Ernie's question. Thank you again, Ernie, for your question. And the first thing that we do when we have a question that looks like this, we use our ruler. The ruler is our best friend. If your ruler is fading, make sure that you always have a ruler where the numbers show so that you can be able to give us the correct measurements. So I'm going to take the house, and I'm going to, the first thing we've been asked is the height of the wall. And the height of the wall is going to be this. This is the height of the wall. The height is the same as basically your width. The height is the same as your width. And then your length is always called your length. So don't panic and say, oh, I don't know how to calculate height. No, height is the same as your width. So we're going to take a ruler and we're going to measure. Again, we're going to measure. Okay. So we take our scale. Our scale doesn't really look that clear over there, but I am going to use 1 centimeter is to 0.3 meters. And I'm going to tell you what exactly to do with it when it looks like that. So if I have got 1 centimeter is to 0.3 meters. Always remember, we're not supposed to have this in our scales, in our number scale especially. Do not have your unit of measurement. I'm putting it there for a particular purpose, and this is why I'm putting it there. I'm going to convert everything into centimeters. So if I'm converting everything to centimeters, I need to convert 0.3 meters into centimeters. There's a little trick that I like using that you guys probably know of when you are doing your conversions. So the little trick that I have, you can always write this at the back of your question paper, you know, when you're panicking, because you know the nerves do get to you when the question paper is there. So what you can do when your question paper is there is that at the back of the question paper, you go and you just write this little detail so that you always know how to use it. So we will start with kilometers, meters, centimeters, and millimeters. So some people will have their King Henry, whatever going on there. We know that from kilometers to meters, we need to multiply by 1,000. From meters to centimeters, we need to multiply by 100. From centimeters to millimeters, we multiply by 10. So it reduces by 0 each time. Going backwards, we divide, because we know that backwards sort of does represent division. Divide by 100 over there, and we divide by 1,000 over there. So that's how you would convert. So now if I'm converting 0.3 meters into centimeters, I'm having a little crash course on conversions there. I would then go back to my conversions over there, and I see that from meters to centimeters, I need to multiply by 100. So I take my 0.3 and I multiply it by 100. And if I'm multiplying it by 100 over there, I'm going to be moving my 0 2 times 1, 2, which is going to give me 30 centimeters. So now I'm working with centimeters, and I've got centimeters throughout. And if I've got my centimeters throughout, then I know it's going to be 1 centimeters is to 30 centimeters. 1 is to 30. And because it's 1 is to 30, I know that every 1 centimeter on the paper represents 30 centimeters in real life. I then take my ruler and I go and I measure the height of the wall. So the height of the wall, just want to show you again. This is then going to be the height of my wall. And if I've measured the height of my wall, because I am going to use my ruler doing that, using centimeters, that gives me 3.5, meaning the 3.5 centimeters is going to be under the measured. So 3.5. I am then going to be solving. This time, let's make it C. I'm solving for C. And if I am solving cross multiplication, maps and scales, guys, cross multiplication, if you feel like, oh my gosh, I don't know what to do, this is too hard, go from your unknown, from your known to your unknown, and what we do know is that 1 centimeter is equal to 30 centimeters. So I cross multiply, and I am going to be dividing by that 1 over there. So it's 30 times 3.5, 5 divided by 1. It's not always going to be 1, so don't cram it using that 1, because sometimes you'll be given something totally different. So then it's going to then be my 30 times 3.5, which is going to be 105 centimeters. Remember what I told you about everything making sense, right? It always needs to make sense. 105 centimeters. Can I get a wall that's 105 centimeters? Of course. If I use my ruler and I go all the way up, it can work out. So it needs to work out all the way. Perfect. Now, let's go to the next question. The next question says to us, we need to calculate the length of the wall. Let me go up and just show you what the length of the wall looks like. So this is the length of this wall over here. And I'm expecting the length to be longer than my width. So if my answer is not corresponding, then there's a problem with my question. Like I said, math literacy is a lot of common sense. So it has to make sense. Let's just go and calculate that over there. So what is the first thing I am going to do? Take my ruler, measure the length of the house in centimeters. It's giving me about 8.8. Another little tip that you need to know, that I always talk to learners about, is that don't force the measurement. So can you see now it's giving me 8.8. Use the 8.8 as it is. Don't force it to a 9, because sometimes it doesn't make sense to you and you feel like, I want to use it, I want to force it, or I want to round it off. Don't do that. It's done on purpose. If it's 8.9, use it as 8.9. And the lovely thing about it as well is that when whoever that's marking is going to give you allowance. We have something that we call allowance. So I'm going to be using 8.8 centimeters. Let's go and calculate that. So I know that my actual scale, my scale is 1:30 that I have measured up there, and that's what I'm using throughout. And then I said to you it's going to be 8.8 that I've measured on the map. Cross multiply, divide by that one over there. So it's going to be 30 times 8.8 divided by 1. And I'm going to go and use my... Don't be scared to use your calculator. Don't be scared to use your calculator, because sometimes people want to work this out in their head. And also don't walk into the exam room without a calculator because you are going to be missing out on marks, easy marks. So that is then going to be 30 times 8.8, which gives us 200, okay, I missed that, 264. So that's 264 centimeters. I didn't divide by the 1 because that's obvious, okay? So I'd obviously go and plug it in if it was a different number, but I know that anything divided by 1 is that thing. So it's 264 centimeters. So now I know that the width or the height of my wall is 105 centimeters. And I know that the length of my wall is 264 centimeters, which makes sense. Like I said to you guys, it needs to make sense. So let's go to the next question. We need to calculate the roof height. Let's go and see what the roof looks like. This is the roof that we've been given over here, and the height is going to exist between over there and over there. And this is a nice triangle that you can see. So we're going to be looking for that height over there. I know from all the measurements that I have been doing that my scale is 1 is to 30. So I know that. Now what do? Ruler. I take my ruler and I go and I measure the height on the map, and it gives me a nice 2 centimeters. I go and I put that 2 centimeters over there, solving for C, cross multiplying, division. 30 times 2 divided by 1, which gives us 60 centimeters. So then I do know that it's going to be 60 centimeters.